There are secrets you keep to protect someone. And secrets you keep to protect yourself. Margaret had told herself, for 30 years, that hers was the first kind. She was not entirely wrong. She was not entirely right. And now she was gone. And the secret had not gone with her. This is a story about a woman who carried something alone for 30 years. And the daughter who found it in a shoebox on the top shelf of a wardrobe. On a Tuesday afternoon in March. Subscribe before we begin. Because this one ends at the moment everything changes. And you will not want to miss what comes next. Chapter 1. Margaret. Her name was Margaret. 63 years old when she died. A retired librarian. A woman who kept her house very tidy and her feelings even tidier. Her neighbors remembered her as quiet and kind. Her colleagues remembered her as reliable. Her daughter remembered her as someone who always seemed to be standing just slightly outside of things, present, attentive, but separated by something invisible that Anna had never been able to name. She had been married to William for 34 years. William, who had died of a heart attack 6 years earlier at his desk on a Wednesday morning. William, who had been steady and decent and entirely unaware. Anna had loved both of her parents. She had also, always, felt faintly at a distance from them both, as though the three of them were standing in the same room but the room itself was slightly the wrong size. She had assumed it was simply her. The way some children feel. The way some families are. Chapter 2. 32 years old. Anna was 32 when the first question arrived. Not a question she went looking for. One that found her. She was pregnant with her second child. A routine appointment, a blood test, a form to fill in. The nurse asked for her blood type. Anna said she believed she was type A. Her husband James was type O. The results came back type AB. The nurse was matter of fact about it. She said these things were sometimes recorded incorrectly. She said it was nothing to worry about. Anna nodded and put her coat on and walked to her car. She sat there for a long time. She was a librarian's daughter. She knew how blood types worked. 2 O parents could not produce an AB child. She drove home. She made dinner. She did not say anything to James. She did not say anything to anyone. But something had shifted very quietly inside her. And she could not shift it back. Chapter 3. The questions that would not sit still. She told herself, for several weeks, that there was a reasonable explanation. A clerical error somewhere. A misrecorded test from childhood. These things happened. Then she had her blood tested again. AB. She went home and looked at photographs. She had always looked more like her mother than her father. Everyone had always said so. Margaret's dark eyes, Margaret's particular way of holding her head. But now, looking at photographs of William, really looking, for the first time with this question sitting beside her, she found herself searching for herself in his face. And finding nothing. Not a certainty. Just an absence. A quiet, unsettling absence. She could not ask her father. William had been gone for 6 years. She could not ask her mother either, not directly. She had tried once, carefully, obliquely, over the phone. She had mentioned the blood type. She had said the nurse thought there might have been an error somewhere. There was a pause on the line. Then Margaret said, "Yes, probably an error. These things happen." Her voice was exactly as it always was. Calm, measured, slightly outside of things. Anna said, "Yes. Probably." They talked about other things. The baby, the weather, a book Margaret was reading. Anna hung up. She stood in the kitchen with the phone in her hand. Her mother had not asked which blood type. Chapter 4. What Margaret carried. His name was David. Margaret had met him in the summer of 1989. She was 29 years old. She had known William for 2 years and they had been talking, in the way couples do, about the future, about what it might look like, about timing, about the quiet assumption that they were building towards something permanent. David was a different kind of person entirely. Warm where William was measured, loud where William was quiet, the kind of person who filled a room without meaning to. It lasted 4 months. It was not a grand passion. It was not a love story. It was simply a thing that happened, the way things sometimes do, between two people in a particular summer that felt separate from ordinary life. Margaret ended it in October. She and William were married the following spring. Anna was born 11 months after the wedding. Margaret had done the arithmetic immediately. She had done it in the hospital. In fact, holding her newborn daughter in the particular exhausted clarity that follows birth. She had looked at Anna's face. She had thought, "I do not know." And then she had made a decision. She had decided not to know. William was so happy. He held Anna like something he could not believe he was allowed to have. He said her name over and over in a low voice, learning it. Margaret watched him. And she buried the question so deep that for years she almost forgot it was there. Chapter 5. The Almost Forgetting. Almost. There were moments, over the years, when it surfaced. When Anna did something that was not quite William, not quite Margaret. A laugh that came from nowhere they could trace. A talent for music that surprised everyone. A way of entering a room that reminded Margaret, with a sudden cold clarity, of a summer 30 years ago. She would feel it then, the question rising. And she would push it back down. She had become very good at that. She had never contacted David again. She did not know where he was. She had not searched. Not knowing felt safer than knowing. Safer for William. Safer for Anna. Safer for herself, if she was being honest. She was not always being honest. What she had done, in the end, was write a letter. She had written it the year William died. Sitting at the kitchen table on a Sunday evening, the house very quiet around her, she had taken out a piece of paper and she had written to Anna. Everything. David's name, the summer, the arithmetic she had done in the hospital. The decision she had made. The years of not knowing on purpose. The love that had been real, whatever its origin. She wrote it all down. Then she folded the letter. She put it in an envelope. She wrote Anna's name on the front. and she did not send it. She told herself she would know when the time was right. The time was never right. The years passed, and the letter stayed where she had put it. In a shoebox. On the top shelf of the wardrobe. Behind a folded cardigan. Waiting. Chapter 6. The Shoebox. Margaret died on a Thursday morning in February. A stroke, peaceful, the doctor said, in her sleep. Anna drove to the house the following day. She let herself in with her key. The house was exactly as it always was, tidy, quiet, every object in its proper place. She stood in the hallway for a moment. The house smelled like her mother. That particular combination of old books and something floral she had never been able to identify. She stood there and breathed it in and let herself understand that she would not smell it much longer. She spent 3 days sorting through things. Methodical, practical, the way grief sometimes presents itself as a to-do list. She started with the easy things, the kitchen, the living room, the shelves of books that would need to go somewhere. On the third afternoon she came to the wardrobe. She worked from the bottom up. Shoes, folded trousers, a coat she recognized from childhood. On the top shelf, behind a folded cream cardigan she remembered her mother wearing on winter evenings. She found a shoebox. She lifted it down. It was light. She sat down on the edge of the bed and opened it. Inside, a small photograph she did not recognize. Her mother, younger than Anna had ever seen her, standing beside a man Anna did not know. Both of them laughing at something outside the frame. Beneath the photograph, an envelope. Her name on the front. In her mother's handwriting. Anna. She held the envelope for a long time. The bedroom was very quiet. Outside the window, the afternoon light was fading. Somewhere down the street, a car passed. The ordinary world continuing. She turned the envelope over in her hands. It had never been opened. Her mother had written her name on it and sealed it and kept it for. She looked at the postmark on a small torn corner. 6 years. 6 years. She thought about the phone call. The blood type. Her mother's voice, calm and measured, saying, probably an error. Her mother not asking which type. She thought about 32 years of that invisible distance. The room that was always slightly the wrong size. She looked at the envelope. She looked at her own name in her mother's handwriting. And she understood that whatever was inside it would divide her life into 2 parts. Before and after. Her thumb moved to the seal. To be continued.
If this story found you tonight, leave a heart for Anna and tell me in the comments. Would you open the letter part to is coming on Wednesday? Subscribe and turn on the bell because the answer inside that envelope changes everything.